Hello, thank you for sharing a story with me today. Our story is called Pandora's Bag. This is a story about a girl named Pandora who lived in a small village in Greece a long time ago. It's called Pandora's Bag. One day, Pandora got really mad. Like really mad. Her little brother had taken her sandals without asking and he'd broken the laces, and Pandora was just really mad. She'd been mad before, but not like this. She sputtered and she spluttered and her fists were clenched and she got so mad that her anger actually popped out of her body and went running around in the room. It was shaped like a little goblin and it went running around in circles, shaking its fists and going roar. And Pandora was so surprised to see her anger running outside in the open like that she grabbed it with two hands and stuffed it inside a bag she had by her bed. And then it was quiet, except she could still hear anger rustling around in the bag. So quickly she tied a rope around the top of the bag and pulled it tight and shoved the bag underneath her bed. The next day, Pandora got really sad. Really sad. Her favorite goat ran away, and she was so sad she didn't know what to do with herself. But then she remembered her bag, so she took it out from under the bed, and she untied the knot, and quickly she shoved her sadness down in the bag, and she tied it back up, and she pushed it under the bed. The next day, there was a terrible thunderstorm. Zeus was really mad about something. The lightning flashed, and the thunder crashed, and it shook the whole house. And Pandora was more frightened than she'd ever been. And she didn't like that feeling at all. So she remembered the bag, and she took it out, and she untied the rope, and she shoved her anger or her fear all the way down in the bag and tied it back up and pushed it under the bed. Soon, whenever Pandora had a feeling she didn't like, she would shove it into the bag. The problem was, after a while, there was so much anger and sadness and fear filling up that bag. And they were kicking around inside, making a ruckus, and it wouldn't go under her bed anymore. "I've got to find a place to put this bag," she said. "I'll hide it in the old oak tree on the other side of the village." So Pandora was trying to drag her bag across the village. Ugh. And by now it was really heavy. She'd stuffed so much anger and sadness and fear into it. She could barely drag it along, all the emotions inside. And they were all kicking around, trying to get out. And Pandora made it just to the middle of the village, pulling the bag, when she noticed that the knot on top of the bag, holding it all closed, was coming undone from all of the kicking of the emotions. "Oh no," she thought, as the knot gave way and she grabbed the top of the bag, trying to hold it all closed as the anger and the fear and the sadness struggled to get out. Well, as you can imagine, the people in the village noticed Pandora struggling with this bag, and they said, "Pandora, what on earth are you doing?" Pandora explained what she had done, and by now she was in tears, trying to keep the bag closed. "I don't know what to do," she said. They're really wild and stirred up, and I don't know what will happen if they get out." A kindly villager said, "Well, why don't we help you with this?" So they led her to a circle in the center of town, and the villagers gathered, and Pandora sat down. "Open the bag," they said, and so she did. And first anger popped out and ran around in circles, shaking his fists and going, "Arr!" But the villagers sat, and they patiently listened to all of Anger's complaints, and eventually he settled down. Then sadness popped out, was crying and crying, and the people sat down beside sadness and they gave him a hug, and they listened until he felt better. Then fear popped out, like trembling, and the people wrapped a blanket around him, and they gave him some warm milk, and they put him to bed. Finally, the bag was empty, and all of the different emotions had been comforted and listened to. Pandora was so relieved. "Remember this for next time," said the villagers. "Anger and sadness and fear want to be listened to, not shoved away in a bag. And if you need help, We're here for you." "They kind of did a number on the bag anyway," said Pandora, holding up the bag, which by now was torn and stretched all to pieces. The villagers laughed. "You should get a box," they said. "It's sturdier." "What a great idea," said Pandora, and so she did. But that is a story for another time. Thank you for sharing my story with me today. I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful day.